All right, let's get started here. Today we're going to be working on pack 27 of the Enterprise build, which includes stages 103 to 106. And there's a lot of little things to do in this pack. Gave the magazine a look over beforehand, but it shouldn't take that long. A lot of little details, but it seems like everything just sort of snaps or screws into place pretty quickly. So we will go ahead and get started with pack 103 right here. And yep, starting out with this guy. Just getting my oil ready for the screws, and then start out by removing these escape pod hatches. Alright, got all the escape pod hatches out. I think this is one of those packs where I'm going to be bringing over a lot of different pieces at a lot of different times. Just judging by what's in here, because I can already tell some of this stuff is for the battle section, some of this stuff is for the saucer section. But it's held in with AM screws. There we go. First one in. Thankfully, with as far advanced as my saucer section is, there aren't many panels left with windows, and those are the ones that really take a lot of time. Cutting out and fixing each window in place. There we go. One deck panel done. You know, they do want us to affix it to the saucer section right now, but I think I'm going to take care of the rest of this stuff. Oh god, yeah, they are something else. I think I'm going to take care of the rest of this stuff while it's out here, just so I don't accidentally lose track of anything. Because all these parts fit onto the dorsal section. I think I've called this thing something different every time I've pulled it out. Pretty sure the dorsal section is what's attached to the battle bridge, and then this whole piece is considered the drive section. But I could be wrong there. So this is, let me bring it up here. A cargo loading bay door, which is just here to hide all these screw holes. And this is just a push to fit. Most of the push-to-fit items have... Yeah, that's actually held in pretty firm. So thankfully won't need any glue for that. Yep. And then two of these tiny little screw covers for these two parts. Looks like they just fit in either hole, although that feels really loose. Let me flip this over and see if those are going to fall out. Yep, there you go. Maybe it just needs to be pushed further in. Nope, that looks awful. Well, doesn't look great, but there's no getting those out now, so... whatever, that's the underside. I'm not going to sweat too much about that. And then... I have some more panels to put in. They labeled? Yes, this is the right. Is this technically the right side? Oh yeah, it's upside down. Another push to fit. Why, thank you. And welcome. It's very nearly completed. This whole top side is done, aside from we do have to attach the battle bridge. And then the underside, it looks like it's going to be finished with this pack. And it is, I don't know how well it's going to show with the light, but it is all, well, you can see those, I guess. Yeah, it is lit. There's just too much overhead light to really make it out. And these two little things, these also labeled, yes. Oh yeah, those aren't going anywhere. Everything's feeling good. Now we have some adhesive to deal with, and in the just give it a little pressure for a second. Also supporting it from the bottom. I don't want to accidentally put my thumb through the plastic. And then number 2. These adhesive pads are making me want to just glue them in. Come on. There we go. Maybe. Yes. Good. Disaster averted. Everyone can breathe easy again. And then we just have a bunch of these escape pod hatch covers to affix over all these holes. Let me just cut them out. And then just a matter of putting these all in, making sure they're facing the same way as these other ones. Feels so satisfying to be at this point. That one needs some filing too. After so long with so many loose parts just kind of sitting around, to finally see everything come together. It's interesting. So the way a lot of these models go is when you first subscribe, they send you what's essentially like a trial pack. You know, stage 1 and 2. And those stages are usually, they're pretty cheap. you know, like $2 for that stage, kind of as a way to just let you test the waters, see if you like it. And then you continue the subscription from there, or you cancel it if it's not your thing, and, you know, you're just down a couple bucks. But one of the first things I ever did in this build was the deflector dish. And so this has just been sitting around for, what has it been, 3 years I've been working on this thing now. And it wasn't until, I think, 2 stages ago that I finally put it in. And that was the moment where everything with this drive section just went over super fast. Okay, that's it for that. So now, all right. This beast. Getting harder and harder to figure out how to film this with this section. Oh. Turn back, find out what screws I need. Have to do some wire wrangling. Okay. So there, maybe I can, yeah, you can see a little bit of it. It's here with the, I think this is the impulse engine, if I remember right there. But, wait, let me make sure I don't need this again for the next stage. Okay, I don't. I'd hate to move it away and then just have to bring it right back. Okay. Get all this excess. Oh, almost forgot. We do have this tiny little escape pod hatch cover I have to put over that screw hole. Did it off camera, but it's done. Alright, that was that stage. Nice, easy one in this one. As you can see, a nice big piece. Probably going to be another quick one, stage 104. Yeah, weird. So I have these bulbs in place, but it's telling me to flip them for some reason. And I really have no idea why, but honestly, I don't know if I can. I don't know if I have enough play in the wires. Maybe I can carefully get some slack. There we go. Making sure not to put on the bulb. Yeah, every now and then they'll do something in a stage that's kind of a correction from a previous stage. One point in the saucer section, I had to replace a screw in the frame because I guess the screw they had was just like a hair too tall, and it would sometimes cause a bulge. Another one in the the nacelle, there was a panel that just wasn't as reflective as they liked it, so at a certain stage they sent a replacement. So it's usually always beneficial, but this one I am just a little confused. But, you know, I was able to get enough slack in those cables or wires, so let's do it. Let me make sure I have... So we have to put colored lenses over them. Yeah, definitely. Definitely better. Put these colored lenses over it, and I think red is always port. Oh yeah, it says here, port. So let's see, if this is flipped over, this would be port. I don't know why I turned it on to do this, but whatever. There we go. So that's going to go in there. Yeah. And then starboard, or green for starboard. The old sailing colors. Well, the camera really only picks up the white part of it, but once it's sealed down and that's covered up, these lenses will look pretty good. Okay. So now this is where everything's going to come together. And then the cover going over. And anytime screwing into plastic, you want it pretty much just hand tight. You don't want to put too much force behind it. Otherwise, you will strip the threading, something I have done. And now the battery compartment. It's crazy how... So, back up. You do need quite a few batteries for this build because a lot of different parts require their own individual power. It would be nice if everything was wired together and ran off of an external power supply, just like a power outlet. But they did it this way so that the model can be disassembled if you want to repair it, mod it, move it, or even if you want to display it as the saucer section separate from the battle section. But what has been surprising is even though a lot of different parts require batteries, it's crazy how little power these LEDs actually use. This entire saucer section, all the lights, is just 3, if I remember right, I think it's just 3 AAA. This entire battle section is just 2 those little button batteries. Well, not little, like the ones that are the size of a quarter. And it makes sense. I know LEDs are low power usage, but it's just something you don't really think about until you have it in front of you. Alright, now we're going to be putting together these phaser panels, which... Okay, make sure I have the right ones. Which have springs, and this is something I've never really understood. A lot of the phaser panels, even this big one up here, they have springs behind them. I'm not sure why. It's not like they have any movement with them or anything, but again, one of those things where it's just they're there, so I put them in. Yeah, that's true. I've been making sure to buy high quality batteries specifically for this build because I don't want that to happen. Alright, get some of these tiny... I don't even know if these things are going to show up on camera. They're so thin. Maybe. And these are the sections I'm always careful of. Losing a screw, there's a chance I'll find it on the floor, but there's also spares, so I'm not worried. But losing a spring, that could just fly off in any direction. I think that's correct. Yeah. And then one more for port. If we do end up finishing this battle section tonight, that'll be the third separate piece that has been completed in this model. I have one nacelle, the dorsal section, the battle bridge, whatever it's called, and then this. See, again, I keep calling it something different every time. I just need to look up and figure out what these things are called. let's see. We have 13 BP screws, 2 AM screws, and 2 BM screws. So, oh boy, this is going to get exciting. There was one section I did. It was the kind of the moment where everything really came together for me. It was sorry, just got distracted by something. I had what stage was it? I want to say it was like, I don't know, early on, maybe stage 10, 12, 14, I don't remember. But I just had a ton of loose deck panels, a ton of loose frame pieces. Like everything was just loose off on its own. And then I had this one pack I got where it was like, you know, okay, start off, build a deck panel, yeah. Here's a piece of frame, yeah, put in windows, whatever. And then the last stage was just, okay, now just put everything together. And that stage took me about 3 hours to complete. And I was just like, I started later in the night because I didn't know it was going to be such a big build. And by the time I finished, I was hungry, I was thirsty, I was tired. It just went super late, but I kind of stood back and I looked at everything. And I kind of had this sort of like, you know, oh, holy crap moment, because it looked like it was all about the saucer section was what it was. It was just putting together everything I'd done with the saucer section so far. And looking at it, it looked like what I imagined the Enterprise looked like when it was in the Utopia Planitia shipyard that they talk about in Star Trek. Because, yeah, 3 hours, it was ridiculous. Because it was just a lot of deck panels complete, but then a lot of exposed frame, a lot of exposed wiring, and it just, that was the moment where I was kind of like, all right, this model's coming together. I can see it now. Because when you just have a box full of loose parts, you can see the finished product, but it's hard to get terribly excited for it. But once everything's coming together, that's kind of when it really clicks. Which is how I'm feeling about these last stages, where I'm just seeing all these parts that I've been looking at for so long now finally joining together. But that is the end of that stage. This one looks like it's a mix. We're going to be attaching what I'm guessing is the second to last piece of frame for the saucer section. Oh yeah, I'll give it to you now, but it's only going to get better once the drive section gets attached. So here it is on the underside, and all these, you can tell all these screw holes, there's panels coming. In fact, there's some of them in here that's going to cover all this up. And well, this side has, I suppose this side has changed because now we have these phaser arrays in here. It's even got the Enterprise writing on there. So yeah, just wait, slot it in there. So yeah, what I'm guessing is the second left piece of frame, just judging by what we have completed on the saucer section. Some lights that are going to go in there, and then, as I just pointed out, some of these covers are going to go on the drive section. Or, yeah, I don't think there's any that need to go on the saucer section just yet. Starting out with each of these cables they have two bulbs on them. You just want to bend the wires so that they form a straight line underneath the bulb for how they're going to be fixed into the frame. There's one done. And the three. Alright, well, cruising, but this is usually where it always slows down for me, screwing these tabs into the frame with the bulb. But get better every time I do it, so hopefully not too painful. Yep. Yeah. Well. All right then. Let's see if our luck can continue. They give you so much information about the show in these magazines. They don't just tell you how to build it, but they give you information onto the construction design of the Enterprise, as well as other ships, episode breakdowns. Anyway, one of the things they said was the idea to separate the saucer section from the drive section was an unused idea from Star Trek The Motion Picture. I guess in one draft of the script, it was either the Enterprise got damaged when it went into V'ger, or it battled V'ger. I don't remember exactly, and frankly, I don't remember if they say exactly what happens, but the warp core is going to breach. Like, it's reaching critical temperature, and they have to evacuate that section or evacuate everyone to the saucer section. Oh man, that came loose. But the way it was going to work for the original Enterprise was it was not something where it was supposed to reattach after it detached. It was like a last-ditch effort where the two sections were held together by explosive bolts. And in case of emergency, they could blow those bolts and the two sections would separate. And sorry, my cat's getting into a box if you hear any rustling in the background. And where was I? Oh yeah, those two sections were supposed to separate via explosive bolts, and then the saucer section would have like just enough thrust behind it to get away from the explosion. And that was how they envisioned destroying the original Enterprise in Star Trek The Motion Picture. But of course, if you've seen the movie, you know that doesn't happen. They don't destroy it until Wrath of Khan. But it's interesting that... Okay, that's a little loud now. Cats and cardboard, I tell you. But it's interesting that that idea popped up in an early draft of the motion picture and just kind of hung around in people's thoughts until they started production on TNG. I know similarly there was talks of doing like the original series part 2 in the 70s before they decided to do the motion picture. And some ideas they had for that ended up going into the motion picture. Some ideas they had from that ended up being episodes in TNG. But just a lot of things floated around for a while. Okay, all those attached but one, just like in the instructions. Oh, you know, as I look at this, the next stage, or the next part where we put this into the saucer section, it looks like this may actually be the last piece of frame we see. Just gonna have this right here so I can see what I'm doing. And last but not least, just make sure they work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, yeah. Good. All working. Rotate it. I have a better view on it as I put the screws in. Alright. Oh. Hey, moment we've been waiting for. Anyway, just show that one last time. Again, last piece of frame it looks like. Unless there's some sort of support going in here, which I doubt. It's the last piece of frame for this build. And it is feeling heavy as usual. Bring this bad boy back over. See, these are the pieces I said the edge didn't matter because we are covering them up. I know, thinking of suspending it, I just thought, I know there is, Fanhome also makes a Millennium Falcon model, and that one I think I've heard people say has enough of an internal structure that you can suspend that one from the ceiling. Of course, with very strong cables and very heavy anchor points. Alright, so here is the battle section all lit up. And now, of course that wouldn't go smoothly the first time. Well, there is a tiny little seam there, which I think I can get with some more finagling. Each time I kind of wiggle it back and forth, it inches closer, but I'm not going to sit here and do that for however long it takes. But, wow, having this all together, this is going to be one friggin' heavy model. Of course, this lights up, and this, where's the switch? There's the switch. Also lights up. How good you can see some of them. So that's looking good, and all told, let's see, we got measurements right here on the map. It's about, oh, stay still. $15 or 16 inches long, as a guess. So, yeah, looking good. Gotta find a safe place to put this because we do still have one more stage. Stage 106. This one looks like just another easy deck panel to end it off with, although now we do have some windows to deal with. Get to do some windows this time, but first, escape pod hatches. Not many of these left to do. So that's, that brings up a good point. I was thinking of something earlier when I was looking through this pack to see what was in store. Kind of got me thinking. So this is pack 27 of 30 total, meaning we still have 3 packs left. And I was just kind of racking my brain trying to figure out how we're going to fill 3 packs with what's left. Because like I said, we still have the whole, I can show you here, we have the port nacelle completed. All lit up and everything. And we still have to do the starboard one, but that one, unless they've changed the construction of the nacelle, which I doubt, that shouldn't take terribly long to complete. And then, of course, we have the rest of the saucer section to do. But with this deck panel in place, there's not a lot left. So unless what is left, like maybe, as I was saying earlier, I don't know how the saucer section attaches to the drive section. Maybe that is much more involved than I think. And the last few builds, or the last few packs, are going to be very detail heavy. Or they could be going in the opposite direction and kind of just having the last few packs be a little lighter. Which, you know, after some of the work I've had to do on this model, I really wouldn't mind if that was the case. So yeah, I don't... Oh, you know what I did just think of? Another thing that's kind of a mystery to me with this model is you haven't seen the top side of the saucer section. It is all completed except for the Enterprise markings. You know, Enterprise NCC-1701-D. And I don't know what those are going to be. If that is a decal we have to affix, a sticker, you know, a magnetized thing. I really don't know what that is. And I've purposefully not, you know, looked around to see what it is, because I kind of, this whole model, aside from, there was one stage where I think the instructions were unclear and I got confused. I did look up to see what someone else did in that situation. But aside from that, I haven't looked at any other people's build guides. Excuse me. You know, I was talking earlier, I saw like finished stands and bases and mounting hardware. But I haven't looked into detail as to specific builds. Because, you know, I kind of want to do this one, figuring it out on my own. Mistakes at all. But having said all that, yes, the markings, whatever those are called on a ship, that is still the one thing. Well, that and how the two sections attach, I suppose, are the two things that I'm still just not clear about. And these windows are, oh, come here, the kind of parts where they give you plenty of spares. And they give you, in the instructions, they kind of give you a template you can work off of how you want them, lighted versus clear. And I've been following that guide. You can do it however you want, but oh, it's a good thing to give you extras. That one almost went off the table into the abyss. But they do give you extras so you can do it kind of any which way you want. I've also seen, or haven't seen, but I've heard of people doing some sort of resin pour. Or resin, I don't know much about working with resin, but they've used it to replace these windows to make them look a little bit more authentic, I think. But I am not in a spot where I can do something like that. And this one, I don't know if we're actually going to be putting this into the saucer section. I should say I've kind of went off on a tangent. We have the windows in, the escape pod hatches, and I'm now just screwing in this phaser panel. Which that's, yeah, as I look at it, this is the, you can see this is the end. This phaser panel runs almost all the way around the underside. So this is going to be the last part on that side. Going to plastic, so I don't want it too tight. Or I should say, don't want to screw it in too tight and risk stripping the threads. But yeah, that looks good. No, okay, so yeah, this is one of those pieces where we're just going to save this for later. Probably next stage, we're going to... Actually, yeah, as I look at it now, I can see there's other parts that need to join up with it before it can go in the saucer section. But we do get to bring back this bad boy, and I gotta... Now that the battle section is on there, I gotta be very careful as I flip it over. But we're just going to be covering up some more of these screw holes. I should say some more. We're going to just covering up the last of these screw holes. With this last, not this one, but the next panel in, that is going to be this whole section completed. Again, once I close that gap, which I will do off camera because that is boring. And then, oh, let's make sure the money shot as I put it upside down. There we go. This entire drive section, dorsal section, battles, bridge, whatever I decide to call it in the minute, is now completed. Obviously, the nacelles aren't on there, but those just snap into place. So I consider those something different. But now we have... So as far as completed things go, we have this, the port nacelle, which, don't get me wrong, I am extremely tempted to try and fix this into place now. It does just hold in with spring tabs, but I think I'm going to wait. I want to fit this in the rest of the way, and then, like I said, maybe glue some edges down. So I want as few pieces in place to interfere with that as possible. But that, wait, let me double check. That is it for stage 27. As I was saying earlier, here, these sections, they do lift up. I don't know if it's kind of hard to see on the top camera, but they do lift up just like in the show. There's 1, 2, 3. Wait, are there 6? No, there's 4 of them. And so I don't know how they... Obviously, they don't attach in permanently because they wouldn't put this detail on. Well, they say they don't. And also this right here is covering up the battery box for this section. So yeah, that's still a big mystery how that's going to fit into place. But it is something for another day. I wish I had a better way to show all of this at once, because it's nice. I will say that. I'm so happy to see this coming together. But that is all I have. So, thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching. That one went a lot smoother than the last stage. Or I should say the last pack. That one was a beast. But that is all I got.